everybody, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Tonight on our podcast, we've got author Nikki Lamers. I didn't even ask you if that was the right way to pronounce it. Did I get it right?
That is absolutely the right way to pronounce it.
Perfect. Well, before becoming an award-winning author, Nikki grew up in a small town in Wisconsin and went to college at one of the University of Wisconsin campuses. She now lives in New York with her husband and her two children. She's always loved to write and create stories as well as curl up with a good book. Me too. Nikki is an author of the Unforgettable series, which won 4 Firebird Awards when it was released in 2022, and the home duet inspired by her upbringing in the Midwest. Nikki loves exploring different places and meeting new people, where she's always looking for new inspiration for her next story. Welcome to the podcast, Nikki.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Deb.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, how old are your children?
So my kids, that's it's funny. I should redo that. They are now 18 and 21.
Oh my gosh, I have a 17-year-old and I'm not emotionally equipped or mature enough for this, right? She comes home.
That's exactly right.
She comes
I
home with
know.
real problems, and I'm like looking around for someone who like can help me with this. I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe
It's
one of my books can help me out.
not the kind of books I read, Nikki. I'm just
No, read or write.
really like we were just at dinner and my husband was talking about something in the news and he kept saying penetration, and me and my daughter are like laughing our asses off, and he's like, why are you laughing? And I said, you keep saying penetrate, and he's like, you guys need to
Yeah.
stop reading those books all the time. But he benefits mutually, so he doesn't actually mind.
Oh, I think everybody does. That's so funny.
Well, speaking of books, you recently released Wreck My Halls, a holiday anthology with several authors, including a good friend of ours, Andrea Janelle. And I was just wondering what it was like contributing to an anthology and working with other authors.
First of all, Andrea is fantastic. She's a good friend of mine as well. I actually met her and um, Eliza Lucas. The three of us had met about a year and a half ago, all at the same place at one of the conferences. And I adore them. But I absolutely loved working with other authors. And what was neat about it too is, as you're going to the different conferences and you're working with different people, you get a chance to meet the people you're working with, which is amazing. But Andrea did a fantastic job of getting authors that work together that are similar. I felt like, because I read all the stories, they were all great. And I felt like we all had a kind of a similar style. And it was a lot of fun too, being able to talk about the different songs that we wanted to do or that were inspired by, because all the stories were inspired by a different Christmas song.
Oh, that's really fun. I love that. So, did anybody want the same song?
Yeah, I think there was a couple that, and then they ended up using it. And I can't remember which song it is off the top of my head, but they just titled it totally different, and it's the same inspiration,
Oh,
and it was a
cool.
totally different story too.
Yeah, I love that. And when you're inspired, it's kind of hard to give up your idea too. So, I
It
was like,
is.
yeah,
It
how would
is.
you?
I actually went through my favorite songs. Mine was "The War Is Over, Happy Christmas," so
Yeah.
enemies to lovers kind of thing.
We like a little bit of that around here.
Absolutely.
Your website talks about how your real life experiences have heavily influenced your books, especially the Home Duet and the Unforgettable series. So, can you tell us a little bit about that and about those series?
Absolutely. So, first of all, I'll start with the Unforgettable series because that's I guess, more simple. But that is based in Maine. And when I met my husband, we spent a lot of time in Maine. He went there growing up, and there's this gorgeous lake, Lake Demascata, where we spent a lot of time at. Um, and the town is Damascata as well. And it's a great, cute little town. And honestly, the first time I was there, I'm like, oh, this needs to be in a book. It's so picturesque, romantic. It just screams you need to write a romance novel
I love that.
for this town. So I absolutely did. And the first book I wrote, The Unforgettable Summer, ended up being, I didn't know it was going to be a series. I wrote it as a standalone romance, but then everybody wanted to know about the supporting characters, and including me.
You're like, wait, they're not done yet.
They're not done yet. So you start writing about the siblings and friends, and everybody has their own novel. So they are all standalones, but they're interconnected. Um, And yeah, they're all based in, I mean, we went there every season. So I've been there in, winter, fall, spring, summer, tons in the summer. But, we've got to experience it during all different seasons, which gives us an opportunity to be able to, um, tell the stories every time. And that was absolutely my inspiration for the story itself, the
Oh,
first
that's
one,
amazing.
and
Right.
the rest of them too.
Yeah, I love Maine. We actually, my husband and I went up there to Portland a few years back, and it was wonderful. I love how the whole city's walkable, and
Yeah.
it's a whole like cycling city, and so we rented bikes and went down to this little like beach on the other side of the bridge, and it was a blast. We had a great time there.
So Damariscotta is about an hour and a half north of Portland.
Okay, yeah, is it past the nice state park or before that?
I think before that. It's near Booth Bay Harbor and Camden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then Portland was actually the college that they went to during the series, if they were in college. So some of them are in their earlier 20, younger, but at all the way up to 29 for their ages.
Perfect.
I do some. It's not college and some are full contemporary.
Cool. So is
So
there,
and then
yeah, so good. I'm
I
sorry. I
no,
interrupted
and
you.
then well, I was just going to say the home duet, which I am going to write more books for that. But it just takes a lot out of me. So the home duet was based in Wisconsin, which is where I'm from,
Hmm.
and it's also the main character is based on a girl who's adopted, Samantha. So I'm adopted, and about 11 years ago, I found my birth mom. But I sent in the paperwork to Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. I went through the whole process, and I used my process and my emotions and my experiences to tell Samantha's story. But it is not my story at all.
So was that cathartic for you, like a good
It was
healing moment?
It was really, really cathartic. And it's crazy how one of the things that I loved about it, it's a different, everybody says it's a little bit different than some of my other writing, but you couldn't help it. It was just very raw for me. Um,
How do
and
you
I,
do like the people in your life when, because you're saying like you use that as a basis because you know what the process is like, but it's nothing like your story. Do you ever find people in real life are kind of offended because they're like, is that actually how you felt about that?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this instance, it wasn't a big deal more than anything. You ask a lot of what if questions, but I did talk to the different people, and I mean, you're gonna in this situation, it's just hard to take in general. It's just hard to deal with. It's not an easy thing because there's so many questions you ask throughout your whole life. You don't ever have people that look like you. You don't, there's just a lot of different things. And then to be able to I actually met my birth mom and extended family. I have two half brothers and one's married
Wow.
with kids. And, so I did get a chance, lots of cousins. I guess I was the only girl in the generation, but my mom was 16 when she had me. So, I feel like it gives a good basis. But there's some circumstances I've been asked, "Oh, is this me? Is this how you felt?" And no,
You're like, no, I don't just put you in my
no,
books, actually, but
yeah.
everyone does want to think that they're the inspiration for something positive or negative, right?
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, there was like a when I worked in the nonprofit world, we were talking about that before we started recording, but
Mhm.
there was this thing one time to like be a character, like you get to name the character in the book and it can be like
Okay.
based off you. And I'm like, that sounds awful.
It really does,
I
doesn't
don't
it?
really, because also you're going to take like the author's interpretation of who you are. And quite frankly, I joke with everyone. I'm like, you love me after about 3 weeks. So if I only get 30 minutes, I'm screwed, right? Because I've got resting bitch face and all that. And so I'm like, I don't think I want to bid on that. That does not sound fun for me.
Oh, that's so funny. But I think part of it is being in the book world too.
Right, right, exactly. So is there a specific book or author that inspired you to start writing romance?
I've always wanted to write romance in general. And I've always loved writing, reading, all of that. But at the time, I will say who I was reading at the time. And at the time, I was reading Abby Glines, Jennifer Armont.
Hmm.
I know I never say her last name right, so I apologize. Samantha Young.
Oh,
Those
right.
are, yeah.
There a
So
specific author you're reading currently that you really love?
Honestly, I'd like to try to read a lot of my friends' books.
Right.
I just read a Kay Lucas book and Andrea Janelle.
Yeah, she just had a release this week, didn't she?
Yeah, but I didn't read that one yet. I'm working on the backlog slowly, because I rotate through to different friends. I love being able to read my friends' books, and I just think it's a very cool thing.
It is hard when you have friends that are readers though, because you'll hear like really kind of like people that read books but aren't that I wouldn't call bookish, right? And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've got like 10 books I want to read." And I'm like, "Don't hang out with book people because my to read list on Goodreads is over 1,000 books."
I just stopped adding because I'm like, yeah.
But I'll never remember that I wanted to read something, right? And
I
so
know, but
I have to put
it's
it on
like
there.
all the lists, the different lists that I have, I'm never going to remember. And then when you go to the conferences, I come home with the biggest stack of books,
Oh, right, me
you
too.
know. Um,
Sometimes it's just
yeah,
because I really liked like what the author was putting out there, right? And I'm like, I just want
yeah,
to support that. Please take my money and, write more awesome books.
right.
So you do have a recent release called A Leave of My Duty, right? It's a standalone story in your Piper Falls Station 28 series. So what can the readers expect from this book?
First, I do want to clarify that it is a standalone novel, as part of a series, but I didn't write any of the other books in the series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Each book is written by a different author. So it was a shared
Huh.
world. And we had like an 80-page document with all the little different parts of the town and things and characters and things like
Oh, cool. That is such a fun project. Who has to make that document?
that. Melanie Ann, she's an author. She's the one that put it all together. Um, so she was kind of did the document, and then anyone who was part of it, any author was allowed to add to it. So, like if you added a character or a place, or whatever, you had to add it, and then you also have to add the mannerisms, the age, the description, like all of that kind of stuff too.
Wow, that is really fun.
Because it's not like you're going to have 10 different hospitals or 10
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about what you brought into that series.
So for me, it was a romantic suspense. It was as Griffin is coming in from out of town to support his family when his dad had a heart attack. So he was a police lieutenant about an hour away. And he came home and he's going to work on the farm, took a leave of duty to work on the farm to help his family out while his dad is sick and recovering. Um, and he has a big family, lots of siblings. So the family dynamic is a lot of fun with the different brothers and sisters. And, one's married with kids and his parents. And then you also have Mallory, who is a single mom of three kids, and she's a widow of um, her husband died in the line of duty as a police officer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So,
So it's
my
a
books,
small town romance, but the guy's coming in instead of the typical woman coming back to the small town almost.
absolutely. And it's for me, I like being able to I'm really about the characters, who they are, where they come from, how they became who they are, and who their best match is, like
Right.
who's gonna be good for them, because everybody reacts to things differently. Everybody is impacted by things differently. And then also too, if you've gone through a trauma or you've dealt with something, or um, or yeah, if you're your parent or whatever you may be, there's different things that you react to. And for me, I'm so much about the characters. That's
Right.
how I love to be able to tell stories. So.
Well, I've already heard you say that you love enemies to lovers. Obviously, you love small town romance. It sounds like you like a little bit of single parent. So, is there a romance trope that you absolutely stay away from in your writing?
In my writing, honestly, probably age gap. Having two kids that are 18 and 21, it just
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. I
that's
know. I
that's
know.
why.
100%. I'm like, maybe I'll feel better about it when I'm older.
And that's what I actually said. It's funny because I was thinking at this time it's that way,
Right,
but
right.
who knows?
Exactly. Well, and maybe when my daughter is, 21 and, if I don't know. I don't know if I would still be okay with her dating someone my age at 21, but
And that,
you
and
know, who
yeah, well,
knows
my
how I'll
son's
feel about it.
21 and my daughter's 18.
Right, right. And I think of like as a mother, like your kids, I mean, my kids could be 80 and I would still think they were making immature decisions, right? Like so
Yeah.
like it's hard to even think about them being in a relationship, much less with someone that's closer to your age than their own.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's honestly that's why. Absolutely.
We'll get together in 10 years and see if we feel better about it.
That sounds good to me.
Now,
I'll be there, Deb.
you said, now you did say when I'm writing, is there one that you don't like to read?
Um, I probably wouldn't want to necessarily, that's not my first choice to read. But I've known some that aren't as big and they are a lot older,
Mhm.
that have done it well and I don't mind it. Um, because it doesn't feel as close to, I
Right.
guess you would say, but I
For
don't know.
me, 30 to 45 is a lot different than 20 to 35 or 20 to 40, right? Like there's
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
you get the life
Absolutely.
experience and then you can actually if you date someone older, it doesn't feel like you wouldn't have anything in common.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I think that's what it is.
right. So what are you working on next? Are you allowed to talk about anything that's in progress or anything that's
I
coming?
am. So, well, first of all, I am going to be releasing Breaking Barriers, which is book two after Breaking Cycles. It's focused on Declan, which is Ella's brother from the first story.
Okay, great.
Um, and then I also have, so I have a couple collaborations I'm working on. I am doing Romantasy
Oh,
anthology, which will be my first, I guess, first step into that. It's funny because I don't know if I would have had the courage to do it if it wasn't part of an anthology. And they're like, I love your writing. I love how you write your characters and your emotions. Can you please? I think you would be great at
you
this.
put
And
a
so I
dragon in
tried.
there,
So
please.
I'm like, all right, I'm in. So that is actually looking to come out at the end of March, and I actually am really happy with what I did. And I haven't read all the stories yet, but I read about half of them, and I have some good stories for sure. And then the it's going to be all for a cause. So
Wonderful.
Danielle Paquette Harvey is the one that's doing the anthology, putting it together. And she's in Canada, so it's going to a children's hospital in Canada.
That's amazing. I love that. Now, can
Yeah.
you say what romantasy like characters you have? Is it fae, dragons, like what kind of supernatural element,
Well,
I
you
guess?
see some different characters throughout, but the main focus is on mermaids.
Oh, fun. You don't see tons of that. I really love
Now, I'm a swimmer. I love the water. I love the ocean. I grew up on competitive swimming, so um, I I'm just drawn to that.
Yeah, how fun is that? I love that.
So
So it's
yeah,
funny. I was looking, Goodreads always does like their end of the year wrap up, and you can look at your previous years. And 5 years ago, I was reading like 20 books a year, and now I read like 130 books a year. But it's
yeah.
because I've from a very young age been a romantasy reader and a paranormal romance reader, but then I finally had enough books to read in the last 5 years, right? Like
Yeah.
I finally found my people, and I'm going to be very sad whenever, the trends change, but hopefully we've got a few more years with romantasy because it doesn't seem like it's dying down at all, which is great.
No, it really doesn't. And keep in mind too, that's just my story. There are other stories. You're gonna have everything. You have fae, you have I think there's dragons in there. I think you have everything. Some elves and
I don't know if you've ever read anything by Kimberly Lemming, but she's the one that wrote That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. And it's actually really amazing. There's a lot of cultural, uh, like, what am I trying to say? Like, it really makes you look at culture a lot in what she's writing, even though it's really funny. And this demon that she saves actually can dragon shift, right? And she at one
I
point,
like it.
right, at one point, you almost can envision her looking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall, and she goes, "Damn, I'm about to fuck this demon." It's just it's so funny because this woman is just so like robust and big personality, and she's like, well, shit, here it comes. I just
Oh, I love that.
I love it, like, finding the good and no matter what the person is, right? And I think that's really what I like about romantasy too. It just opens our eyes a little bit.
I like that. I like that
Yeah.
a lot.
Well,
Yeah,
and what will the anthology be called, Nikki?
um sorry. I don't want to get it wrong. Once Upon a Forsaken Love.
Okay, great. I can't wait to see that.
And I just saw the cover today, which we can't share yet, but we will soon, and it is gorgeous.
Oh, please tag us whenever you post it so I can see. I can't wait.
I will. I absolutely will. Um, yeah, and I do have one more project that is coming out this year. I'm part of another collaboration. This is similar to kind of what I did with Leave of My Duty, but we all have our own novels, and they all kick off the same. So this is called it's Blind Date with a Book Boyfriend, with a hashtag book
Ooh,
boyfriend.
yeah.
And every story has a different hashtag book boyfriend. So something I haven't shared yet and so you will actually be the very first that I'm sharing it with,
Feel so lucky.
is mine is titled hashtag former player. So it's blind date with a hashtag former player, and he's a former baseball player.
Please tell me that he's like a simp too, because I love whenever they're athletes and they're like the simp for the woman. Like they're just like cannot get enough of her and like he's never been in love, right?
Right,
Those are my
right.
favorite stories. I actually
Yeah,
just finished one
you
like that.
know, former player, double meaning. So yeah, he's never been in love, been too busy with baseball.
Right, exactly. And then us women just come in and mix it up a little bit.
Absolutely. And it's actually a really fun project though, because she's doing it. It's Ariana St. Clair.
Mhm.
It's the one that is putting this project together, and she has it so Love Canyon is the name of a town, and they have a book club, and so they start reading these spicy romance reads in their book club, and decide that they're now good at setting up people for blind dates.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. Yeah, but see, for me, unfortunately, well, first of all, I've been married for almost 20 years, but also number two, the book boyfriends I want don't exist. They've got like wings and tails and shit. So,
That's all right.
yeah, so I'll keep my really straight arrow gray guys that I've got in real life though.
Yeah, I it's funny because with that's why the romantasy one is really a lot of fun, and I did mine to kind of, yeah, wanting to see if people are interested in more.
Yeah, yeah, world building is really fun.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
one thing I'd really love to do with you is our nerdy and dirty speed round. So I've got a
Okay.
few questions for you. And I know this is really tough, but I'm going to ask you the question and I want you to answer with the first thing that comes into your mind. Are you ready?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. What was your favorite movie growing up?
16 Candles.
Ooh, great. Are you a Valentine's Day romantic or this is a Hallmark holiday type of person?
Romantic.
What personality quirk do you have that might surprise your readers?
Um, oh gosh. I I get in my I have to have my coffee in the morning before I can talk to anyone. Like, leave me alone. I need my space. I like my quiet time.
Same, same. Well, and I'll even if I'm like somewhere where they don't have even caffeinated coffee, I even need like decaf. I need my routine to get my day
Yeah.
started. Okay, so speaking of days, what's your favorite thing to do on your day off?
Read
Same. Do you prefer to read in cold weather or warm weather?
any weather. You can read in any weather, but
Isn't that the truth?
No, but I prefer probably to be in warm weather, but not hot. I don't like it when it's really hot.
Well, you're in the perfect place then, but depending on where you are in New York, because sometimes it
Yeah, I'm
doesn't
on
get
Long
very hot
Island,
there.
near
Yeah.
just outside the, like an hour from the city.
So I was there in when was I there in April? But I was actually in city. I was in the city. I was down in Queens and I was just looking for a coffee shop to work at. And it
Mhm.
was really hot that day. It was like 85 degrees. It was unseasonably warm. And I was walking through this area where it was just like butcher shop, but and it was like this whole like something you would see out of a movie. All
Yeah.
these men kept coming out of their shops and they're like, they look like overweight, like mafia guys. And they're like, why is it so fucking hot out here? They're like, what's up with the weather? And
Oh,
like,
you were either in Queens or Brooklyn for sure.
it was so funny because I was like, this is what you see in movies. Why is it so fucking hot out here? Like, and I was like, it
It
was
sounds accurate.
yeah, it was great. So, final question. Do you have any green flag tropes that instantly make you love a book?
I don't think so. I mean, I love a happily ever after, but um, I've read good books that aren't. I think for me, it's just I need a good story, good
Mhm.
characters, good story.
Right, some depth in there a little bit.
Yeah,
Do you like insta love?
I do,
Yeah,
but it
I like the
depends. It has to be
chemistry.
done right.
It does. It does. I like the whole chemistry, can't stop looking at each other, like that kind of insta love, not like
That,
stalking
yeah,
across.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Like yeah, almost almost obsessed.
Yeah, yeah, it's really fun. So, where can your readers connect with you? Where do you like them to come and find out more about you and even like talk to you personally?
I do have a website, www, of course. Nikki A, can't forget the A, Lamers, Lamers.com. Or sorry, Nikki A. Lamers author.com. And honestly, everywhere there you can sign up for my newsletter,
Hmm.
which is great because then I do a monthly newsletter to try to send out what's going on and all that kind of thing. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, I think is the new one.
I just signed up for Blue Sky today. I'm like, well, one follower.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll find you. I'll follow you tonight.
Thank
I'm on
you.
there. I'll follow
I
you.
appreciate it. Where do you prefer your readers purchase your books? I know you said you're an indie author, so where can they purchase that's the most beneficial for you?
Honestly, I am. Most of my books are wide.
Great.
But Amazon has everything because I do have a couple that are still on KU. But most of my books you can find anywhere.
Great. Yeah, and I love KU is almost like a starter to finding an author. I think that's what's really fun about it. I don't like when people complain when a whole series isn't on there because I'm like, well, the point was to pull you in. It wasn't to just give away all these books, right? And so
Right.
KU is a really, really fascinating thing because I think it's really expanded and from what it used to
It's
be.
massive.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
We just did a post yesterday about books that we recommend off KU and it was like 9 slides long. Like
Wow.
5 books aside because I could not narrow it down.
I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of wonderful stuff. So what upcoming conventions or events are you attending where someone can come and get a book signed or come meet you?
I will be at Temptation in the Triangle in Raleigh next month. Um, I will be at Romance in CNY, which is upstate in New York, Utica,
Cool.
I think, in April. I'm going to Romanticon in July.
Where
Uh,
is that one?
and that's in Connecticut, Trumbull,
Okay.
I think. Um, and there's Friday authors and there's Saturday authors. Currently, I'm on Friday. So there is that. And then I'm also, let's see, Romance Con in Wisconsin.
Going back to your roots.
Absolutely. I love being able to go back home and, hopefully, see some people, um, I know and usually it's lots of people you don't, and you make new friends and I love it. So,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And then Fall in Love New England in October.
Great. Well, you're
Um,
busy. You have a lot
I
coming up.
I do, and I also booked a few already for 2026. And yeah, I'm
So
not allowed to announce those yet, though.
oh, right. Yeah, that's why I didn't push because I'm like, we're not quite there yet. I just found out I was accepted to something for 2026, but it's the same thing. I'm like, the announcement's coming, right?
Right.
So, one thing that we like to do at the end of all of our episodes is talk about our nerdiest thing of the week. It is called our nerdiest thing. So, it doesn't have to be book related. Really, anything that you did that was kind of nerdy or geeky or something that kind of just gives us the inner you of something that you've done in the last week or month. So, I would love to hear what yours is.
Um, Honestly, I feel like a lot of that comes out when I'm talking books and stories and stuff like that. Especially like an example, I was talking with a good friend of mine, Darla Collins. She's a romance author. And we were house hunting for our characters. So just going on MLS and going into different, and house hunting for characters. I'd love to be able to do it in person too, but
Oh,
a lot
that
of
is
times.
so fun. So, you're like on Zillow looking for your characters' houses.
Oh yeah.
So, what kind of houses were you looking for?
Um, Honestly, what I was looking for the story I was working on were two extremes. So one was very modern, large, open spaces, a lot of bedrooms, a lot of bathrooms, definitely has to have a pool, a lot of property. And then the other one, I want a small little, depending on the size, like maybe even a two-bedroom little place. Um, that's at the complete opposite end of the spectrum in the same town.
Oh, how fun is that? It would
Yeah.
be really shocking though to read someone's book and you be like, I think I have that floor plan. That's right.
Well, I mean, you figure a lot of times what you're doing is you're looking at, you're using what you know to
Right.
tell these stories. So,
Right.
it's kind of the same thing. It's like you're using different houses and different places you've been all the time. You just
Yeah.
don't even realize it.
I just don't even think about everything you said today, just like the anthologies that you're doing. I don't think about how you said it. There can't be 10 hospitals, right? We have to
Right,
know what their house looks like. And we also have to have the house match the person. You would never find me in like Montana on like a dude ranch, right? I would be
right.
in Soho, you know what I mean? And so this is why I'll never write a book.
Although it would be a lot of fun to be able to put you there and see what happens.
Ah, I always say, so I'm a huge Outlander fan, and I'm like, if I went back to the 18th century, I would be burned at the stake on the first day.
I like that. I like Outlander.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would not be able to keep my shit together, and I just would mouth off, and I'd either get beaten or stoned to death or something. So
Yeah.
please
Oh,
don't
that's
put me on a dude ranch.
actually you just reminded me of another project I'm working on that's supposed to come out this year.
Ooh, okay. Well, now I'm intrigued.
No, it's yeah, it's paranormal. Um it's involving witches, and it's
Ooh,
yeah, and pro anyways, I don't know want to say too much, but
we're
it
just
is.
bringing you over to that romantic paranormal world, aren't we? We're just sucking you
Well,
right
I've
in.
we've been working on this for a while, and I say we because there's two of us. So it's my friend Allie Lee. She actually released Anomaly this past year,
Mhm.
um, which is a werewolf story, and we have really wanted to do this together. So we outlined the whole story together, and we've been going back and forth with the chapters. So it's a lot of fun.
Your friends sound really fun.
I love stories.
I can tell just a little bit.
Just a
Well,
little. Doesn't matter what kind. I seriously
right.
love stories.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the
But
great thing about readers. We all have something in common, right? We just love a good story.
absolutely. Of course, my favorite always has romance, and the spicier, the more fun.
I saw a thing the other day. It said reading nonfiction, and then it's like, oh, when are they gonna kiss? And I'm like 100%. Even if I'm reading, even if it's horror, I still like there to be at least like a
Well,
love
yeah,
interest, right? I need a love interest.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this about me, but I freelance in TV, film, commercials, that kind of thing.
Cool.
And I helped with a thriller script. It's a psychological thriller. I helped someone. It's their script, but I guess I was on the writing team for it. So um, anyway, it's great because again, yeah, it's thriller, but you need to have the relationships. I want to see those, and someone,
Right.
it's fun no matter what kind of story you're doing to be able to see that.
Right. You can't just go and slash people up. There needs to be something at stake there.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been such a blast. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast with me. And I cannot wait to see all of these new releases that you have coming out and to see the cover of the anthology that you just got to see today. So please tag us when you get those so that we can share them. And thank you again for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Deb. I had a great time chatting with you.
Me too. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.